great sharing earlier. Thank you so much, Jardine, for sharing your heart. That was very impactful. Excellent job. DW with a great welcome with the lions coming on here. Oh, yeah. Purring and everything. And of course, Austin with an awesome contribution. Thank you so much, Austin. I really appreciate your heart, your love to Beth and I. You're truly an inspiration to all of us, so thank you for that. So I have a lesson today. And it's funny, Saturday I was working on my lesson Friday night, and then the Saturday morning, early in the morning, I was going to do a lesson in Hebrews. And I love the book of Hebrews. It's really good stuff. It's a bit wordy, and the style of writing is perfect. That's a lot of poetic type of stuff in it. So I love it. There's a lot there, but it's hard to preach on. It's difficult. It's challenging to me with my high school education from why not? But I really love it, you know. And so I'm digging in, and Mark calls me up and says, "How's your lesson going?" You know, and I'm like, "Good. I've been working on it. I got my outline. I got my points, my scriptures." I was like, "Scrap the lesson. Scrap. I want you to preach this lesson for the church." I'm like, "All right, cool, man." So he sent me this lesson, and this is an awesome lesson, actually. It's a Bible study on Lordship. Amen. And I think certainly all of us are going to benefit from this lesson. I think it's incredible and very powerful. And you know, honestly, whenever we're going through something, any kind of situation or challenge or whatever, we can always look back to our relationship with Jesus and our perspective of us and Him. Is He the Lord of our life in everything? Because if He's not, that's when He's running the problems. Not that we're having problems or anything like that, but Jesus always needs to be the Lord of our life. And it's a great reminder and a great challenging lesson for all of us, I think, today. And I'm going to be bold, because this is the year of boldness. And just, you know, just warning you guys ahead of time. All right? And I'm going to talk about Jesus being the Lord of our thoughts and our mind, and our character and our behavior, right? I'm also going to talk about Jesus being the Lord of our relationships around us. But the last one, I want to warn you guys ahead of time. I'm going to talk about Jesus being the Lord of your finances. Maybe not right now, you're not doing this when I said that, but in your heart, I think some of you might be doing that. Oh, money. And all of a sudden, that stuff starts welling up around me. I was like, oh. More talk, like Austin already talked about money. I already put money in the plate. Why are you gonna talk? But I wanted to warn you guys, just in case, right? So I don't have attitude towards me a little bit. And you know, my goal, of course, is I want to get out of here in one piece. So I'm going to tell you guys that I strategically placed a couple of jokes in here. I'm going to soften you guys up a bit, right? And so I can get out of here in one piece. But secondly, more importantly, I want Jesus to be the Lord of your life. By the end of this lesson, I want us to all have a strong conviction on that, all right? Amen. You guys good to go? You guys ready? Good. So I've been my younger brother, my half-brother, I just met him. I didn't even know him his whole life. He's 20 years old. Turns out he grew up on the Big Island. And so we did some hanging out. He came here on break from his Bible college, which he's been a part of for 3.5 years. And so he spent some time with us. We got into some Bible studies. It turns out he did not have a good biblical understanding of the need for baptism in regards to salvation, according to the Bible. See, in his Bible college, they're teaching him all kinds of different things about salvation, all kinds of wrong things. And that's just what happened. And it's normal. I'm not surprised by it. And Ian's an awesome kid. He read it in the Bible. He's like, you're right. That means they're wrong. And that's kind of scary. So he's calling them up, and they're giving them like, no, don't worry, you don't need this, and you don't have to do that. They're teaching you're saved by works, and that's wrong. And so, you know, they got into this thing, and he's wrestling with some stuff in his heart right now, and some advice he's getting. And I'm just trying to direct him at the passages in the Bible. So don't listen to me, man. This is not me. This is what the Bible says, right? And the reality is, and I was telling him that what happens is that it's never about baptism, it's about something else. It's about making Jesus the Lord of your life. As Jesus the Lord of your life, you'll be committed to doing whatever your Lord, your King, or your Master requires of you. If He says jump up and down on your head or do jumping jacks to be saved, then you just best do it. But He doesn't say that. He says get baptized, repent, have faith, so you can be saved. Right? And so I think really in the Gospels, throughout the Gospels, the thing was, following Jesus was called discipleship.
Yeah.
And the problem is the Pharisees, they didn't want to be just Jesus' disciple.
Yeah.
So they had an issue with him, and they murdered him because they didn't believe in discipleship. Now, throughout the New Testament, the rest of the New Testament, the book of Acts and the epistles, etc., it was called Lordship. And that's where we're at today. Discipleship and Lordship.
Yeah.
And the issue is never baptism. It's, I don't want to make Jesus the Lord of my life, and I don't want to be his disciple. So you can't do it. You can't follow him if you're not in agreement with what he requires of you in your life. You just can't. So that's what we're going to do. And since Jesus is not physically here today, he's been gone for, let's be real, he's been gone for 2,000 years. He promised he was going to come back, and it's been so long. And we can start to look at discipleship, we start to look at lordship as something we get disconnected from a little bit over this long period of time. Right? So it seems more like a nice idea rather than a way of life. It can seem like a pastime rather than a purpose, right? And you know, we have responsibilities in life, there's no doubt. All of us have jobs, and they're necessary if you want to live in comfort here in Kona, because it's doggone expensive, and if you need to have a decent job if you want to be somewhat comfortable here, right? And having a great family, having great friends and relationship is very important. You know, it's helpful, right? It's helpful to have those things. Having fun hobbies is encouraging, and it's good to have good hobbies and have an encouraging, happy life. But those are pastimes, and those are things that they're not necessarily required to stay alive, and they're definitely not required to be in heaven, these types of things, right? What we need is a purpose in our lives. These other things, they'll make you have an awesome life, but having a purpose as Jesus as the Lord of your life, that will change eternity, will turn the world upside down. Having purpose is what matters. And that's what I aim today, is to have us all be united in our purpose of making Jesus the Lord of our lives in every way. And that's what Christians claim to do. They claim that Jesus is their Lord, right? And so, for us, it's either making a temporary empire for ourselves or an eternal kingdom for God. Right? And that's the difference between lordship and pastime. That's the difference between lordship and a nice idea. Right? Having this is the purpose of life. So what's it going to be? Now, when we become disciples of Jesus, he becomes Lord of every aspect of our life. We pick up our reading in Colossians chapter 2. Okay?
Come on, brother.
The title lesson today is Lordship. Colossians chapter 2, verse 6. So then, just as you received Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live in him, rooted and built up in him, strengthened in the faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. The Bible says, continue to live your lives in Jesus. See, being a disciple is a lifelong journey. It's not just some kind of pastime or nice idea. It says rooted and built up in him. We have to continue to grow and mature in our faith and our convictions and our love and our joy and our sacrifice. Strengthen. Strengthen in what you were taught. How do you gain strength? You lift weights, you get muscular, right? That's how you practice. You put the scriptures into practice and you'll grow strong in them. So today, my goal is to inspire you through a Bible study to live your life with Jesus as the Lord of your life. Strengthened and rooted in him. So continue reading. First point is Jesus is Lord of our character and attitude. Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. Since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things, for you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in his glory. So really, Paul writing to a church of Christians here, he's telling them, look, listen up you guys have been raised with Christ, so y'all need to set your hearts where Christ is. Set your thoughts where Christ is, your desires, your attitude, your character. Everything is not temporal, but it's eternal up in heaven. Don't focus on the earthly way to do things, the earthly way to behave, right? We, as Christians, we need to think differently than how we used to. think differently than the world thinks. We need to process the situations and circumstances that are around us differently as Jesus' followers. It's like outside of the norm. This is not a normal way of thinking. This is not a normal way to behave. It's completely different, right? Like if somebody messes with you, or somebody's mean with you, or somebody steals from you, Jesus said you turn the other cheek, you give them even more. Go that extra mile, is what Jarny was talking about in your communion. I went above and beyond what was expected of me at work. I went the extra mile. Jesus said, go 2 miles. Go that extra mile. We have to have a different perspective and view on things that are happening in our lives. It says that you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ. So we have to strive to think of heavenly and spiritual things, to take captive of our thoughts rather than being taken captive by them. We need to control what's going on inside of our skull, you know what I mean? Rather than having control us. And, you know, the only way that we can do that, there's only one way to go outside of the norm, is to really train yourself. And the only way to do that is through the Bible. Daily in the Bible. Daily prayer. Fellowshipping daily with other Christians. A daily meditation. It's so important and so life-changing. I can imagine the Apostle Paul. He was the greatest of the apostles. He did the most for God. He started off the worst, became the most awesome. I can imagine him waking up in the morning, having the most life-changing, earth-shattering quiet times. Like, God, please help me to die to myself today and serve you and only you. Help me be the best Christian on the entire planet today. And I can imagine him doing that every single day. And he really went above and beyond. He always went the extra mile. He poured himself out. He was so vulnerable in his letters about, I am the least of all the apostles. I'm the worst person in the world. I'm the worst person in the church. And it wasn't a false humility. He was just being vulnerable. Like, man, I've done so many bad things. I'm so imperfect. It's not that you have a low opinion of yourself. But you have an honest and humble opinion of yourself that you have a long way to go and you have not yet arrived. And this is just your quiet time. That's a way of life. Colossians chapter 3, continue reading verse 5. The Bible here says, in regards to having Jesus the Lord of our character, our thoughts, and our attitude. Verse 5 it says, put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. You used to walk in these ways in the life you once lived, but now you must rid yourselves of all such things as these: anger, rage, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge and the image of its Creator. What a powerful section of Scripture. He's talking about a before and after kind of scenario. You used to be a scumbag, now you're awesome. And you put to death all that stuff. You took a knife and you killed it. You buried it in the waters of baptism and you raised out. No more anger. No more rage. No more slander. No more gossip. No more lies. No more selfish ambition. No more lust and impurity. All that nasty stuff, leave it behind. Please don't go back to it, Paul is saying. I'm begging you, don't go back. You guys used to live that way. It was junk back then, and it's still junk. Leave it in the rearview mirror. Move on with your life. You know, lust is a big one these days, and back then too, obviously. And it's funny. Some people think that marriage is a cure for lust, like lust is some kind of disease that can be cured by getting married. Marriage does not cure lust. If it did, there would be no adultery. Self-control is still required. Lust doesn't care if you're married or single. You may be Solomon in wisdom, David in praise and worship, Abraham in faith, Joshua in war, but if you are not Joseph in discipline, you'll end up like Samson in destruction. You've got to be self-controlled and run away from sin. Lust is a killer. You You walk around town here and everybody's half dressed, the guys and girls too, you know, and everybody can struggle. And lust and impure thoughts will get you there. It'll get you there to a bad spot. We need to put on our new self, which is being renewed. It says here, clothe in these things. This defines you. This is who you are. Being a follower of Jesus requires constant renewal. Living a repentant life every day. Wake up in the morning, this is a new day. I'm going to put yesterday behind me. It's gone. Today is what I'm concerned with. I'm going to renew myself today. I'm going to repent today. I'm going to do better than I've ever done before in my life. This is going to be the best day of my life. Every single day, renewing yourself every single day. Asking other people for advice. What can I do to improve myself? Looking in the Bible, like reading the Bible, it's so easy to look through the scriptures and find everybody else's fault. Oh, this is perfect for that brother. Oh, this sister needs to hear this. They need to repent. Look at yourself first. Change yourself first and be that example for others. It says, put to death anything and everything that relates to your old way of life. You know, for me, my old way of life scares me. When I think back about it, I think that's scary. It's interesting, I was a drug addict, you know, and I used to cook up cocaine and smoke it, right? And what we do is we put baking soda with it. We mix it up to cook the impurities out, it makes it stick together, and then you can put it in a pack of stuff. It is called crack. And that's what I used to do. So last night, my daughter got bit by a spider, right? And so what you do is you put baking soda to draw the venom out. So I put water in it, and I started mixing it together with the water. It reminded me of my I was like, ooh, I had one of those moments. Like, man, I could use a hit right now. Just like all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? Man, that scares me. And I'm so afraid to go back to that life. And so whenever I go there, I take captive of my thoughts and I start thinking about it, right? This is what I do mentally. I told this to Austin. I was like, if I didn't become a Christian, like, my life was horrible. Like, Beth was leaving me with my daughter at the time because I was a drunk and a drug addict. And I told Austin, if I didn't make a decision to put that old life to death and become a new person in Jesus, that I would have probably ended up a transvestite hooker on the streets. And he's like, there's no way that could ever happen to me, Austin goes. And I don't ever say never, because anything can happen if you're not being protected by God. And I'm not gay, that was not something I struggled with, but I could have went there. I know that I could have went there, and if I give up on my relationship with God right now, if I go back to like smoking crack, it's within the realm of possibilities. That's how I take captive my thoughts. I'm like, you could be a tranny street hooker or a Christian. Okay, Christian is awesome. This or that. You know, that's a pretty, like for me, that's a no-brainer. I don't know about you guys, but that's for me. Come on. Put to death anything and everything that relates to your own way of life. Right? The baking soda is fine with just baking soda and water. Point number 2, Jesus is Lord of our relationships. How we treat each other is a direct reflection of our relationship with Jesus. Continue our reading in verse 12, chapter 3. The Bible says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other, and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive, as the Lord forgave you, and over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. What a powerful section of Scripture on how we are to be treating people around us. It says, clothe yourself. You define yourself this way. Like, you know, somebody like maybe like rap music, they're going to dress all hip hop. Somebody like punk rock and they dress with a leather jacket with spikes and ripped jeans. Like, that person's a punk rocker. That's a hip hop guy. You're defined by how they're dressed. The Bible here is saying you're defined here by how you treat people around you, your closest relationships. And we do it because God treated us that way first. The example is Jesus treated you this way, so you treat other people this way as well. And this is a great example from Jesus on how to treat people. We live in imitation of Christ in our relationship. This is how Jesus treated people. Now, my question is, do these attributes define who you are? Like, people say that about you if they're describing you? They're kind and gentle and loving and humble and patient. Or not. I mean, I could look through the list and I could pick out a few that I got lots of room to grow on, and others just a little bit of room to grow on. But regardless, we can all do better in our treatment of people. I like how Jarnae shared, this really ties into what Jarnae shared about how she behaved when she was at work towards her coworkers and the consequences she had to go through. And to a repentance and a change and the great victories that she's been achieving with her coworkers and being reconciled to people she had problems with. So would others describe you this way? Would others say this is how this person is? You say you love your brother or sister sitting next to you. Will you mind if I ask them? You say, I love my neighbors. I do. I love my neighbors. Do your neighbors know that you love them? Do they even know it? Or are you just saying it and you assume that they love you? But if I were to ask them, what would they say? Forgive as the Lord forgave you. God's forgiveness is our standard. Whenever I'm dealing with any kind of discipling situation of people disputing with each other, within the church or without, people are arguing and complaining, or they got into an argument, because that happens, disagreements happen, it's real, nobody's perfect. I always ask people, well, how old are you? I've asked this to Austin. How old are you, Austin? He's like, I'm 23, man. Like, how long has God been patient with you, man? 23 years. Yeah, 23 years. 23 years, that's how long you've been patient. Now, can you give the brother a break then because he didn't put the toilet seat down then? But God's so patient with us all our lives, and all of a sudden someone looks at us sideways, or doesn't give us a hug, or borrows some money, doesn't pay it back right away, whatever it may be, or if they're too often traffic can cause you out to scrap, whatever it may be. Why can't we just be patient like God is patient with us? Why is that so hard? It's challenging. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. And you're like, yeah, that was Jesus though. He's perfect. You know, this is me. I know jiu-jitsu, man. I'll tap you out. So look at me sideways. You know? Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Yeah, that's what he said. Jesus said, give him your tunic and your cloak. Go the extra mile. That's what Jesus said. As guys, we're going to be all like, yeah, we're going to put on the box of love. It's good. Let's go. You know? That's not what Jesus teaches. We forgive. We be humble. Continue our reading, Colossians chapter 3. It's so important our reflection of our relationship with God in accordance with our closest relationship. There's a cool list here of how to behave towards your closest relationships. Colossians chapter 3, verse 18. Wives, hear this, Beth?
Yep.
Submit to your husbands as fitting in the Lord. Go in there. That's it. Done here. Case closed. Wait. Verse 19. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them.
Amen.
Children, obey your parents, Austin, in everything. Martin, do not embitter your children. They'll become discouraged. Slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything and do it not only when their eyes on you and when they're favored, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for his wrong, and there is no favoritism. Does it show favoritism? These are our closest relationships, our family. God is big on family. He wants us to treat each other a certain way. He has a standard here. A lot of times we can read and go, that's perfect for them. I'm already doing that. No. You treat, like for me, I got to treat my wife with love, even if she's being unsubmissive. It doesn't say treat your wife with love if she's submissive. And it's pretty cool here because what happens is, if I am loving to my wife and gentle with her and not harsh, she's going to want to be submissive to me. There was a time when I was a baby Christian, a long time ago, and I told her, you gotta follow Jesus and submit to me because he said so. And she got all mad and bitter with me and unsubmissive. Some big surprise there. I basically caused my wife to sin by being harsh to her. The best way, I can force Beth to do stuff in a sense because I'm stronger than she is physically. I can force her to do things, you know. But it's so much better to win her over with love and with gentleness, so she'll want to, and it'll be a joy. It'll be pleasant to be a Christian, and not a burden and a hardship to be a Christian to be submissive.
Amen.
God cares deeply about our families. Satan hates families and will always try to get us to go outside the boundaries of what God has prescribed. Take the wrong medication. Sometimes, especially for us guys, we can think we are so awesome, we're entitled, that our wives actually owe us their love. And then we can be harsh with them, and that just hurts them. We have to remember something very important here. God created man from the dust of the earth, and He created woman from our rib. What does that make, guys? It makes us dirtbags. It makes women, our wives, prime rib. We gotta love our wives and stop being a dirtbag. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as if you're working for the Lord. When we're at work, we are serving God. We're serving Him at work. It talks about slaves here, like that doesn't apply to me. I'm not a slave. Slavery got done away with. No. We work for our boss. Not that we're a slave to them, but in a sense, we're relating this. Like, don't be trying to sneak hours and do any kind of stuff with the bosses and looking. You work for your boss as if you're working for the Lord. You want to get a raise at your job. Who does? Who wants to get a raise at their job? Woo! Who would like to even get a better job? Yeah. You can't raise your hand. Awesome person. But I'll tell you the secret to getting a better job and getting a raise. Be a Christian at work. That's it. That's it. You be an awesome Christian at work, right? Yes. You don't complain. You're joyful all the time. You're responsible. You're on time. You dress and act professionally. Your boss will respect that, and you'll honor it, and God will bless it as well.
Come on. Facts.
Who do you spend your most time with? Who are your closest relationships in life? Because they're the ones that will influence you the most. Having righteous relationships is crucial to living a righteous life. So continue reading. We'll go check out 2 Corinthians chapter 6.
Come on.
The importance of having amazing relationships that can help, not hinder.
Good stuff, bro.
So Corinthians 6, verse 14. The Bible says, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? What harmony is there between Christ and Belial? What does a believer have in common with an unbeliever? What agreement is there between the temple of God and idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will live with them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. Therefore come out from them and be separate, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you. I will be a father to you, and you will be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty. Wow, that's incredible. Blessed is not to be harnessed into intimate relationships with people that are not believing in God. Right? It doesn't say don't have friends or family members that are unbelievers. That would be impossible. I mean, you wouldn't be able to reach out or help anybody if that were the case. We're not like talking about living in some weird commune up in the hills where we're only hanging out with each other all the time. That would be creepy and sinful, and we wouldn't help anybody become a Christian. Right. But living together with, or getting married to, or having a dating relationship with someone who is not a believer doesn't have the same morals, doesn't have the same convictions, doesn't have the same standards. It's going to drag you down. Bad company does corrupt good character. Yeah. Your closest relationships will influence you in a negative way or in a positive way, depending on if they're negative or positive. I love about our church and what we do here. We have an awesome cranking singles ministry. Woo! Yeah. And we have a bunch of young people. When you have young people together of the same age and they're single, there will be attractions. And that's normal, and that's okay. That's a good thing, you know? And there's going to be people that aren't Christians that come around because they see a pretty girl that was nice to them and ask for their phone number, or vice versa. That's going to happen, and that's okay. But our dating standards here are amazing, and I'm so inspired and encouraged by that. And the reality is, two people that are attracted to each other and they're single and they go on a date together by themselves, there's a good possibility and a chance that something impure could and would happen. That's possible. But check it out. Now there's a group of people whether they're attracted or not, they can hang out and get together, and it's very unlikely something impure will happen, because in a group you guard each other's hearts. You keep each other pure before God, and I think that's so encouraging to see that. And I want to lift up our singles for adherence. See, when our purpose and our passion is to serve God, it changes our closest and most intimate relationships. You know, for me, I have friends that are atheists, like hardcore. They hate Christianity, they hate Christians, and they can't stand what we're doing. I have friends that are drug dealers. That's what they do for a living. They sell illegal drugs for a living. I have friends that are homosexuals. I have friends that are also in heterosexual sin. Because one isn't really worse than the other. It's sin.
Right.
Yeah.
I have friends that smoke cigarettes. And some of my friends and my family members are like this as well. So it's not like I'm going to segregate myself from them and not hang out with them or even look down on them. That's just the life that they're living according to their own free will. Those are not my closest relationships. These are people I'm going to hang out with all the time.
Right.
But if I was single, I certainly wouldn't remarry Beth if she was addicted to cigarettes.
Right.
One, I don't want to get addicted to, and number two, I don't also want to get secondhand lung cancer. I don't want that to happen to me, so that's not my closest relationship. It's funny, for me it's easy, kind of easy for me to not look down on people that are in positions like that are living their life this way. Being that I used to be like that.
Yeah.
That was my life. I was literally, my nickname with my friends was the corrupter. That was my nickname. Because I would drag people into my sin. Like I would go out with my friends and we go hit strip bars and stuff like that, and we go get drunk and high. And then they'd come home at 5 o'clock in the morning smelling like all kinds of bad stuff. And their wives would be, you can never hang out with that guy again. He's corrupt. And that's why they called me the corrupter. And that was who I was. I used to try to get my friends to fool around with their wives. I used to try to get my friends hooked on drugs like me. That's what I used to do. That's how bad things can be. And it was interesting, like people that hung out with me started doing that. But you know how I got there? I started hanging around people that did those things too.
Yeah.
They became my closest relationships, and I got corrupted, and I became worse than all of them.
Wow.
That's why it's so important for our closest relationships, to be righteous relationships.
Right.
Now my friends apologize when they cuss around me, you know, because I have better relationships now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't apologize to me, apologize to him. I don't care. I don't view my friends in the world in a negative way. I view them as being in need of direction. I view them as in being in need of better relationships. That's what I view them as. When Jesus is the Lord of your life, you can be that better relationship for your friends, co-workers, and families. When Jesus is the Lord of your life. My third point, Jesus is the Lord of our finances.
Amen.
Woo!
Come on.
How many people like this? Except there are, but they didn't want to do this because I'll call them out. This is the part where most people squirm and get an awkward feeling. That, for me, when I grow in the morning, every day, I look on the Forbes list of the world's richest people. And if I'm not on that list, I go to work.
Every day.
You know how people are, they make these boycotts from different companies out there. I'm going to boycott this company because they did this, because they support this political group. I got a boycott. I started. This boycott is funny. You'll like this one. I'm going to boycott any store that sells stuff I can't afford. Boycott. Done here, man. It's over to you. There's these three kids in the schoolyard, right? They're bragging about how awesome their dad is. The first boy says, my dad scribbles down a few words on paper. He calls it poetry, and they give him $50. He's like, wow. The other kid, number two, he goes, my dad's better than your dad. He scribbles down a few words on paper. He calls it journalism, and they give him $100. Like, wow. The third kid, I got you all beat. My dad, he scribbles a few words on paper. He calls it a sermon. It takes 8 people to collect all the money. All right, that's enough bad choice. I don't know who writes this stuff. Let's see what Jesus thinks about money.
Come on.
Matthew chapter 6.
Good stuff, bro.
Matthew chapter 6.
Come on.
verse 19. This is serious. Jesus takes money seriously. Verse 19. Jesus says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. If your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money."
Amen.
He says you can't do it. He says, "Don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where the rust and the moth and the thieves, and everybody comes and takes some more. The IRS, the bill collectors, everybody's taking all the time." He said, don't store up for yourself that kind of stuff. As a follower of Jesus, we are not to invest financially in the things that the world deems as important to invest in. Now, that does not mean it's wrong to have a little something saved up for a rainy day. Doesn't mean it's not wrong to have a nice car or anything like that, or have a phone, all these things. But is that where your priorities are? Is this your purpose in life, Jesus said? This is not some hard-to-understand, metaphorical, deep proverb. This is just Jesus saying something very plain and simple.
Yeah.
Don't put money over God. If you do, you're going to be bummed out. Because you're going to lose it all here on earth, and then you lose your salvation eternally. Because you can't serve God. You just can't do it. You can serve money, but you can't go to heaven.
Right.
You know? So the eye is the lamp of the body. And a Christian priority is to give and not take. We're givers, we're not takers. What are your eyes looking at when you go about your life? When you're scrolling through Facebook, you're looking at the ads. Are you looking at what you want to have? Or are you looking at what you want to give?
Good question, girl.
It says, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Jesus is awesome. He shares this in contrast to storing up treasures on earth. We do this instead of working for financial gain. Well, in the kids' class, we have that big, huge table. It's kind of circular almost. And I put my pinky finger on it. Like, if eternity is going round and round and never stops here, the pinky is just our life. Just a moment. Our stuff, our clothes, our bank account, even our debts, all that stuff, it's going to be gone 10,000 years from now in heaven. You ain't going to be thinking about the new shoes you really wanted. Or the brand new car you really like. Beth and I were having a baby soon, right? And we need another vehicle because we can't fit all of us inside of her small car. As we're thinking about, okay, we're going to sell this car, got this tax return coming, we got special missions coming up. How are we going to do this? My dad's like, you can take over payments on my way super expensive overpriced car for the next 5 years and have a giant monthly payment. Or we can just like buckle down and buy a used bag. Something we can afford, live within our means. So that we can make our special missions and make our weekly contributions as well. You know, I used to give $500 a month to the guy at the liquor store. He's a good friend of mine. He's $500, man. You know what made him awesome? He'd give me beer back. $500 a month. My goal is to give more than twice that much per month in a year. This year. That's my goal. And I'm not bragging about how much money I'm going to give to God or anything like that. That's not what I'm just saying, man. I'm not storing up treasures on earth. Especially not storing up no sin on earth either. I'm storing up treasures in heaven. I want to help the world, preach the gospel all over the world. I want to contribute to these guys in Nigeria. People are getting murdered for being Christians. I don't want to go to Nigeria. I'll stick out like a sore thumb over there, a sore white thumb. I'll stay here. We're safe for all my people. I'll just send them a bunch of money. That'll be awesome. Maybe me and Enoch we go to Tahiti one day and plant a church out there and get some good waves too. But I think it's awesome that we get to live in an amazing country and make some money and send it out. Those are the treasures in heaven. What happens when we try to serve God and money? We fail. We get let down. Jesus here, he's very wise, of course, right? And He knows that if we go after wealth and treasure as a priority here, that's so important to us, it's going to steal our heart away from Him. He knows that. He ain't dumb. He didn't care that he only had to borrow a penny for a parable. He didn't care that he was homeless and he didn't have a place to lay his head at night. He had a home in heaven. He had a mansion in heaven, a throne room in heaven. Money can't get you to heaven, but what you do with it here on earth can actually drag you into hell. It can if you're greedy with it. It's called greed. It has no place in a Christian's life. Where to give. Greed can send you to hell. Living sacrificially can help other people make it to heaven. The choice is yours. Giving sacrificially, it's hard work. It is, I ain't gonna lie. Giving up our hard-earned money to strangers or whatever, that's not easy. People that you can't see, but you'll meet them in heaven, it'll be awesome. But while we're here, in the meantime, giving ain't easy. Let's check it out. 1 Corinthians chapter 15.
Come on.
Paul gives some direction to the church here on giving. That's what I love about our church. You know, we're not just trying to do our own thing out here. We're doing how the Bible did it, how our first century brothers and sisters did it. Right? This ain't me. I ain't trying to fix a little thing broke. Right? 1 Corinthians 15, verse 58. The Bible says, therefore, my dear brothers, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord. Because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Now about the collection, for God's people, do what I told the Galatian churches to do. On the first day of every week, each one of you should set aside some of money in keeping with his income, saving it up so that when I come, no collection will have to be made. Then, when I arrive, I'll give letters of introduction to the men you approve and send them with your gift to Jerusalem. If it seems advisable for me to go also, they will accompany me. So Paul is giving directions to a church here. He's giving directions to us too. He says, always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord. So like Austin talked about his contribution, some of us get paid for time in the ministry, and some of us work, and we contribute financially. The Bible says here that we are to set aside a sum of money in keeping with our income, so in accordance with our income. So we pass the plate around. Please do not put your rent money into that and not pay your landlord. Please don't put into the collection plate the money for your children into the collections plate. And like, I'm going to go on faith. Be wise about it. In keeping with your income, give what you can here, what you've decided in your heart, between you and God to give. But he does say it's for a purpose. It's not so Paul could have a Lexus. That's not what he wanted. He said, I want to take some of this money, I want to give it to these guys, and I want to send them to support another church with this money and help people in need to have the gospel sent to them. That's what we do with our money. If I find out anybody in our church is taking collection money to buy something like a Lexus or something like that, they better be ready to turn the other cheek. I'll get ticked off. I'm kidding, I'm not going to put you guys, but they ain't going to get no more money from me, that's for sure. Yeah. Now, for us, we're giving to God, not man. And if man takes some of the money we give and does sin with it and messes up with it, that's on them and between them and God. And for me, I'm not concerned with that. I'm just giving to God, and He can do whatever He wants with people that do whatever they want with it. But I do trust our leadership in our church, and I see how they live their lives. They're not trying to get filthy rich. They're trying to preach the word to people. Right? We are to give everything of ourselves if Jesus is the Lord of our lives. Everything of ourselves to God's purposes. Our time, our love, our energy, and our money. It says, set aside some of money in keeping with your income. So it should be regular and proportional to what we make. So some people it's going to be a tithe, the 10% will be of what they make. Other people it might be a little less because they have life situations. Other people might be making a ton of money and it'll be a lot more than a tithe. But it's to be sacrificial. Amen? Now, check this out. We have a special missions coming up again. Amen! What it is for is to send people out on mission teams and support mission teams that are already out there. That's what this money is for. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lot of stinking money. It's a massive amount of money. Like a major amount of money. And just like letting you guys know, so you're not shocked when I tell you. So we have our 3 churches in Kona, Hilo, and Honolulu. The collective goal is $186,570 for our 3 churches. Yeah. That's a large sum of money. Our portion here in Kona for our awesome, powerful little church here is 32 grand.
Wow.
Church. That's a lot of money, right? Come on, bro. Some coinage. Do with me. Now, we're formulating to make a great plan to work this and make it happen.
Come on.
And we're going to have a plan to do this. It's going to be tax returns. It's going to be begging for money for people. It's going to be fundraising with steak plates and car wash. It's going to be all of these things. We'll be selling stuff. We're just going to go out. We're going to have a plan. We're going to put it before God. We're going to put it into practice, and it'll be what it'll be.
Amen.
There's a guy that had an impossible plan some time ago. Because that money, right, I looked at that, I was like, that's impossible. That's what the first thing I said in my head when I saw that. I opened the email. That's impossible. Ha ha ha! I laughed, you know. Face of danger. That's literally what I did when I saw it. I didn't get mad. I didn't struggle. I didn't get bitter at anybody. I didn't start questioning if we're doing the right thing. I just like, it's impossible. For God, all things are possible, right? We're going to have a good plan. So this is this guy. Way back when, his name's Hannibal. Not Hannibal Lecter. He lived in 218 BC. He was a leader of of Carthage, and he was at war with Rome. And so they were fighting for power. These 2 world powers were fighting for control of an area of land. And so his plan was insane. And so his plan was to avoid the Roman naval dominance, avoid all their land power coming straight into Italy, and to go over the Alps and attack them from behind where they thought they were safe from. This was his awesome plan, with elephants. Wow! Wintertime. Yeah, he was tripping, right? And so his generals come and said, it's impossible! If we put forth this plan, we're all going to die. The Romans won't even have to fight us. The elephants will kill us. They're like, we scouted it out. The trails to get there are so narrow that a soldier can't pass. And you want to bring an elephant there? You're out of your mind. It's impossible. He responded with a famous quote in Latin. Aut viam inveniam aut ficium. I shall find a way or make one. Ooh. Hannibal managed to lead his army over the Alps and into Italy, setting up an outpost to take the war directly to the Roman Empire. Against all odds, he pulls it off with hard work and great sacrifice. And it's exactly what we're going to do as well. We're going to take our fight directly to the enemy, fighting against all odds and impossibility with hard work and great sacrifice. We're going to pull this off. Make one. Amen? As Christians, Jesus is the Lord of our finances. In conclusion, the only way we can make Jesus the Lord of our lives is to be completely, totally devoted. And our first century brothers and sisters are the best example for that in Acts chapter 2.
Come on.
Completely devoted. Acts chapter 2, verse 42. It says they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe, and many wonders and miraculous signs were done by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common, selling their possessions and goods. They gave to anyone as he had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes, and together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. This is an example of what Christian devotion looks like. This is an example of a group of people that have made Jesus the Lord of every part of their life. Every day, it says, they got together. So they're devoted to the apostles' teachings. So today, we don't have the apostles, but we have their teachings. being devoted to this. And it says that the apostles did many miracles. And like I said, we don't got apostles. But this, their teachings, it does miracles. And I have to remember something. It's not us doing the miracles. It's God's power, His Word, putting it into practice in our lives and in the lives of others. When we're committed, devoted to Him. The word devoted here is more accurately translated as addicted to. I've been addicted to some messed up things in my life. But ever since 9 years ago, actually yesterday, Beth and I made 9 years of this. And I look back at how my life used to be and how it is now after we've devoted ourselves to the fellowship, to prayer, to the apostles' teachings, to the breaking of bread. When we took communion, that's what we were devoted to, living a repentant life in remembrance of what Jesus did for us. My life has changed so dramatically. There's been some hard times, some financial difficulties, some unforeseen pregnancies, but it's awesome. I'm fired up. I would never take back any of this. And 9 years in, I could do this for 1,000,000 years. It'd be awesome. It'd be so awesome. You know, I'm excited in our incredible church here to see all that God has in store for all of us here in this coming year. If we work purposefully toward changing the world and advancing God's eternal kingdom, we will achieve great victory. But we have got to individually and as a group make Jesus the Lord of all our lives every day. Thank you guys.